If you're thinking about buying or selling real estate and you've been paying attention to any of the national news lately, it's probably really confusing and you're probably wondering what is going on. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about what you need to know about a balanced market. I'll also be talking about seller and buyer's markets as well, so you can get a good understanding of that. And then how this affects our local real estate market. Because although national news is very informative on a national level, it's not always indicative of what's going on at a local level. So it's really important to be very data driven so you can make good decisions about real estate. I'm going to talk about all of that today. Now. Hey everyone, my name's Jamey Prezzi. I'm a real estate agent in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. And today I'm going to talk to you about what you need to know about a balanced market and how that affects our local real estate market. But before I get started, if this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another update. We do put out new videos every week. Also use the link in our information box and download our free guides today. My contact information is there as well if you'd like to call, email, or text me. Okay, let's get started. One of the most important things that we like to know for our clients is what type of market are they buying or selling in? And we like to know this because this allows us to make them the most successful. Although, like I said before, national news is great, it is very different than what's happening at a very hyper-local level. And today I'm going to even show you on a more general level, an overview of how, if we go from Miami-Dade County even down into certain neighborhoods, how that data can change. And it's important because if you're selling your property in a buyer's market, you need to know how to best price and position your property in that market versus if you're selling your property in a neighborhood that's hot and it's a seller's market, that's a completely different strategy. So one way that we determine if it's a buyer, seller, or balanced market is we look at the months of inventory. And basically the months of inventory basically ask this question: how long would it take to sell the existing inventory if no new properties came on the market? This is a very fluid number and it can really change from month to month, as you're going to see in my slides that I'll show you in just a second. So real estate always goes through cycles. Again, we have buyer's market, seller's market, and balanced market. This information that I'm going to show you about the break-even points is a scenario that we use in one of the systems that we use. So in this scenario, it says basically if there's more than 6 months of inventory on the market, it's a buyer's market. Less than 3 months is a seller's market, and a balanced market is 3 to 6 months. Other scenarios that are a little bit more flexible with the months say that 7 months plus is a buyer's market, under 5 is a seller's, and a balance is 5 to 7. So although this one's a little bit stricter with the bracketing than this one, you can see that this will give you a good indication of what type of market you're trying to buy or sell in. In a balanced market, this is what we see. Prices are typically more stable. There are more options for buyers. There's a little bit less of that frenzy of buying. Fewer multiple offer scenarios. Fewer seller requests to waive contingencies because they also have more competition with other properties on the market. And the demand is usually matched with the supply. So it's a little bit easier market than if you're a seller trying to sell in a buyer's market where you have a lot of competition, or if you're a buyer trying to buy where it's a seller's market and you have a lot of competition. So a balanced market is a little bit easier market. It's not a bad thing. I really wanted to show you these slides that I'm going to show you in a minute. I know I keep mentioning them, but I really like to go hyper local with our local real estate data because I think it's super important. And you are going to see why it's really important to use a professional when you are buying or selling real estate here. And it's also really, really important because if you are just basing a lot of your information on national or even, statewide or just even countywide, you're going to see very quickly why you could be missing out on something. At the same time, I also want to preface with this. Real estate in our area is very hyper local because we have so much different real estate in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. For instance, We have properties that are on Miami Beach. I mean, Miami Beach is a gem of real estate because it's an island. Miami Beach is a barrier island, and there's only so much land to build on. So properties come at a premium because of that. That's a very different market than Brickell or downtown Miami or Edgewater. And also on Miami Beach, you have a lot of older properties versus Edgewater, downtown, or Brickell are newer properties. So the real estate market for these areas is very different. You cannot group them all together. Although they are all in Miami-Dade, they're all different neighborhoods. Another thing that's really important to know is that pre-COVID, a lot of our days on market data always was really high. And that's just because it was just the nature of our market. The days on market was high for many reasons. I'm not going to go over that now, but people who came from other states where if a property sat on the market for more than 2 weeks, they would say, what's wrong with the property? So just know that our data is very hyper-local for many different reasons. And that's why it's very important to make sure that you're working with a professional who can guide you. So this is a great slide for Miami-Dade. This is all the inventory. I haven't broken down by property type, price point, nothing. It's just everything grouped together. So you'll see last June, we were in a seller's market. Then it crept up to, based on this data, a more neutral market. Some people may say that's still a seller's market, but I'm using this system, so I'm going based on what they say. This dipped back into a seller's market in December. And again, sellers stayed there. And then look, this is where people got really frustrated, because right here is where I had a lot of people get really annoyed because it was really, really hard to buy in this market right here in Miami-Dade. And I had many buyers say, forget it, I'm just going to wait, because they couldn't compete with other buyers who had more financial resources or were able to risk a little bit more. I mean, we had a lot of buyers buy in this market right here, but also a lot of people could not. And unfortunately, as they waited, the pricing has gone up. So I think it was really smart for people to buy right here, but I know it was not an easy time for many buyers, especially very price sensitive buyers. So as this inventory has gone up, we are now 4.1 months of inventory, and we will see what happens next month. You may say that it will continue to go up, but let's see, because I'm going to show you some other neighborhoods. So now let's have a look at Coral Gables. And this is really for my Coral Gables buyers who were in a very price sensitive situation in terms of buying. The interest rates started going up a little bit, and the pricing, of course, has continued to go up. But look, this is why it was so hard. It's hard sometimes when you're in it because you can't actually see what's going on, because the data takes almost a month to close out, if not a little bit longer. But look, this is why it was very hard when you were looking in March. So now you're going to have some more options because the inventory went up. And you may say to yourself, well, I might just wait and see if more inventory comes on. But now I'm going to show you why you may or may not want to do that. Okay, so look at this. So this is for Miami Shores. So look at Miami Shores. Miami Shores has been a very deep seller's market since last June. And look, the inventory crept up a little bit in July. And now look, in August, it's down again. So just because it continues to go up does not mean that it will continue to go up. This is why I always say we don't have a crystal ball in real estate, because some people would say, oh, look, the inventory will continue to go up because that's what everyone's saying is going to happen. But look, there were buyers who wanted to buy, and they waited for that inventory to come on, and they purchased real estate. All right, so now it shows you the slide. So let's just talk a little bit about how a balanced market and having more inventory on the market will affect our local market. It really depends on what type of property you want to buy or sell. Some areas in Miami are still in sellers markets. And so as you saw in previous slides, 1 month you could be in a balanced market, and the next month it goes back to a seller's market, or it switches to a buyer's market. So you really just need to sit down with a professional and make sure that you're comfortable in what you're buying. And if you're selling a property, same thing. You just need the information about your neighborhood so you can make a really good decision. Even as inventory creeps up a bit, Miami real estate has been known to have a lot longer days on market than some other markets. So just because that is happening does not mean that it will still not be a strong market. In the past, pre-COVID, a lot of the real estate had long days on market. And I can tell you, and you can ask a lot of our buyers, they would go into a building and they would say, oh, look, I want these 5 units, but look, they've been on the market for 6+ months. These sellers must be desperate to sell. And unfortunately, they were not. They were just waiting for a buyer to buy it at the price that they had it listed for. So it also feels like whenever you are looking at one type of property that everybody else is as well. So it's just that weird effect that happens when you are interested in something. It seems like everyone else is also interested as well. So don't let that be 100% your guide. It's just what we like to use to help a little bit, especially our sellers when they need to put their property on the market. Over the past few months, we were strictly in a seller's market and many local buyers were very frustrated, but now we're seeing a lot of those buyers slowly come back into the market, which is a great thing. If you were looking at buying last year and you couldn't find a property, now there are more options for you. Also, the other good thing is during that really heavy seller's market, many sellers were asking buyers to waive contingencies like inspections, financing, and appraisal contingencies. In a balanced market, sellers will less likely be able to ask buyers to waive these contingencies because if you don't have a lot of competition with other, buyers, why would you do that? So that's another thing that sellers you need to be aware of as well, because if your friend who sold a few months ago is telling you that, you can do that and demand that, I don't know if that's such great advice right now. Some pricing, we might see it trickle down a little bit, but I think a lot of that is mainly due to people overpricing. I noticed this situation happen recently because I was really hyper-focused on one neighborhood for some of our buyers. And it seemed to me that the pricing at that time, even for the market value based on what has recently sold at that time, because whenever you look at listings, you have to always remember, typically the active listings are more expensive. You always have to go back and look at what's under contract and what's sold recently that's comparable to that property. And I noticed what was listed on the market was way over what had just recently sold and what was under contract. And I'm noticing now that some of those prices are coming back down to be around closer to the more accurate pending and recently closed sales. So, I think some sellers got a little bit aggressive with their pricing and they went way over. And it's not that it's like everything's coming down. It's just the reality of comp sales and what is selling them. And one really good thing is if you want to sell your property, many of our sellers were really reluctant to put their properties on the market because they were like, where are we going to go afterwards? We're going to be in a really crazy frenzy of competition trying to buy a property on the other side of this transaction. So with more inventory coming in and creating a balanced market, this will allow sellers to also have more options on the other side. So it's a good thing. But again, we don't have a crystal ball. So we don't know if it's going to all go towards a balanced market or a little bit, buyer, a little bit seller, because we have people moving here every single day. And Miami is a hot market. So is Broward. So we will see. But what we do is we make the best decision that we can based on the data that we have right now. And that's what we have to use. I hope this helped answer some questions about our local real estate market today. You can find us online on Instagram at the Prezzis. Always feel free to reach out to me. We're always here to be a resource for you, and we will see you soon.